Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get started, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button before you leave, that helps promote my channel a lot. I also love it if you leave comments, so leave me a comment and tell me what you think. Today I'm going to do a ring, and I have this interesting stone that's kind of a yellow, super refractive stone, and I'm not sure. It was given to me by a friend, and I'm not sure what it is. So I'm going to set it into a type of setting I've never created before. It's going to be two pieces of triangle wire for the shank that are split, kind of, and we'll put it in the middle, but it's going to stick out as a solitaire, and I'm not quite sure what we're going to call this yet, but hopefully it turns out nice. I think it will. See if I can pull it off. Before we get started, I need to thank a couple of groups of people. Number one, you guys, the YouTube subscribers. Thank you so much. If you're not a YouTube subscriber, I'd love to have you as one. But I really appreciate all of the kind words and contributions financially that you guys have provided. Those things make it worthwhile. So, the other group is my patrons over on Patreon. It's getting to be a pretty good-sized group. I really enjoy the things that they're talking about over there. I've learned quite a few things from them already, and I hope they're learning some things from me. It's a good community, and I really enjoy it. So thank you guys for signing up. I appreciate your support. All right, let's get started on this. Let's see what I drew up in my design idea book. There's three different kinds of these on my website. This is the original one. This is the second one that my wife came up with a design, and then finally she was having fun playing with my face with some different filters, and so if you were into seeing ridiculous pictures of Chad, this would be a good one. But what I like about them is they have this nice kind of graph paper that's not really graph paper, so it helps me to keep things sort of symmetrical, although you wouldn't be able to tell by my drawings today. But I find them useful, so if you're interested in that, that's one good way to support the channel. Okay, I have this interesting stone. It was given to me by a friend, and I'm not sure what it is, but I guess it could be a cubic zirconia, but it feels really heavy, and that makes me think it could be a YAG or some other synthetic stone. But its refractive index is really high. It's very sparkly, much like a cubic zirconia. But it's a really pretty kind of golden yellow color. I like it, and I think it's going to make for a pretty ring. So let's see about how big it is. But if any of you have a thought about that, looking at it under a loupe, I don't see much, much in the way of inclusions, which makes me think it's probably synthetic. Okay, so 6 by 8. It has a substantial weight to it, more than you would think for that size of a stone. Okay, 6 by 8. All right, and what I'm going to do, I have some triangle wire here. I've seen a lot of rings over the years that have two pieces of triangle wire that are split a little bit and then tapered down to smaller triangle wire along the back side, and then some stones are set in there. I'm not going to do really close set ones, but I thought it would be fun to feature this in a prong setting between those two, but have them taper back down. So two stages really, I think, on this one. I have to make the shank, and then I have to create a little setting to solder in between it. So for this one, I want it to have some depth up at the top. And triangle wire, this is, I think it's about 3mm triangle wire. So it doesn't go very deep. So the stone is going to sit up pretty high. I'm going to add some depth to this by soldering some 12-gauge square to the bottom of it, I think. But I don't think I want to do that all the way around, because I want it to be thickest at the top and then gradually taper down to smaller size triangle wire. So I want to do some filing. So I think maybe for the center part of it, I don't know, about 2/3 of the way out, I guess, I'm going to solder some of this wire to the bottom, and then we'll have to taper it gradually into that. So see how that works. Then I'll probably have to taper it from side to side on both of them too to get it to narrow down. that's my plan, and that's what I'm going to try and do, so we'll see how that works. So let's get this straightened out. I'll set the stone to the side for now. Kind of decide on setting styles after we have our shank made, I think, on this one. I have some thoughts about how we're going to do it, but we'll have to see when we get there. Let's figure out about what 2/3 of this would be. So these are roughly 60 millimeters. I measured these for about a size 7.5, I think. So about 60 millimeters. So 2/3 of 60 would be 40, right? So 40 millimeter pieces of these. I hope my math is correct. If you haven't watched my videos before, I use hard silver sheet solder for most everything. And I use a spray-on flux called My-T-Flux. My torch is a Smith acetylene air torch called a Smith Silversmith. Close enough, I think. So really I want to get these straight so that they'll solder nicely on here. And probably I'll just sweat a little bit of solder onto each of these and then plop them on top and kind of keep an eye on them when they're flowing. Make sure they don't hydroplane off. So a lot of times when I'm soldering, I use a method called thick soldering. If you're interested in learning how to do that, I'll put a link up there for you. It's a pretty useful skill. It really helps me to be able to place solder where I want it to be and the amount that I want to have there. Put one more on there just to make sure it's clean. Now, I'll try and get those to sit on top of there nicely. Flux the bottom. Stop it. I had it pretty close and then I had to mess with it a little bit more. I do that a lot. That's pretty close, so I think I'm going to do him and then we'll come back and do the second one. I'm a little bit crooked on this. I might try using the magnesia block with the triangle wire down and see if I can just nudge it a little bit. If I can get this pushed into the pad a little. That's a little straighter. In order to do this without accidentally filing into this, I'm going to bend these upwards a little bit, because I'm going to be filing both sides. The other thing I'll likely do is smooth these out on the sides so it looks like a single piece of metal. So it's going to be a few minutes, so I'll be right back when these are done. Filed them both kind of like this, and since I've never made one quite like this, I did a little test run on rounding it out. Being extra thick at the top here makes it hard to bend, so you'll see me doing one on camera here, and you'll see how challenging it is to get it to bend against the way it wants to. But with a little work and patience, you can get it to do that using pliers and a hammer. So I'm going to use these nylon coated pliers whenever I can to try and prevent marring this too badly. Could probably do a little bit of manual bending like this to start with. Again, because it's longer in this dimension than it is this dimension, it's going to try and twist on you and bend. So you can kind of try to correct that as you're going. See how that tried to turn? I'm going to use this thing, but you could use a ring mandrel if you could find a way to position it. And we'll kind of do a little bit of manual forging here. I'm going to take the Dremel on the inside just for a minute to kind of smooth that all out. I'll be right back. I mostly smoothed out the inside there. So we're getting similar, but I also, on this earlier one, I filed it down narrower as we went down. So So really I'm going to be soldering these together like this. And then we'll be setting that prong setting in the middle there once we make it. So let's see what we can come up with. For some reason my camera didn't turn on again, and so I have to redo something for you. So I remembered that I had originally intended to do a bezel setting, not a prong setting. And so I already just did this thinking I was recording, and I didn't. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a step bezel out of 26 gauge 3/16 inch fine silver bezel, and I'm going to use 18 gauge round wire to make a little platform and solder it in there. And then I'm going to solder it between those two bands that we did, which I already did. So I apologize for that, because you're not going to get to see me solder it in between the bands, but I'll show you how I did it. So I've done that a few times lately. I don't know what my problem is. I don't know if it's a technical malfunction or if it's a Chad malfunction, but it's a little frustrating when you do something pretty well and the camera doesn't capture it, because that went swimmingly. Alright, when doing a rectangular bezel, you want it to not have a lot of extra space. Oh, I nailed that one that time. Say Occam's razor tells me that I'm the logical choice for why I wasn't filming, not the technology. The technology generally works pretty well, whereas I malfunction pretty frequently. The reason I had intended to do this as a bezel setting originally, which I had forgotten, is because part of it is because I don't know what kind of stone this is, and I'm not sure how delicate it is. So a bezel setting is a little more likely to give it some protection than having the parts of the stone that are liable to chip being exposed by prongs. It's actually pretty good on size. So I'm just going to make 2 rectangular rings that fit in there nicely, and then we'll solder them in. That's pretty nice and snug, and that's kind of what you want. So I need to make one more of these now to lift the stone up high enough. What I'm doing now is pushing them down tightly into the bottom like that so they're flush up against there. Then we'll just, I'm going to cut a few pieces of solder. And we'll make a little pile of them, flux this and set it right on top of the solder and heat it until it flows. I'm just going to heat it from the outside like I would any other bezel, and I'm soldering the bottom of it. Throw them and we just clean this up with a file. See, that'll kind of sit down lower, so we're going to have to take some off the top as well. But it prevents the pavilion from poking through. So, now I'm going to show you, because the next step that I did after that was I soldered the two rings together with an opening at the top. I took the magnesia block, since it's soft and you can push stuff into it. This is before the bezel was here. And I pushed those two rings in there, made sure that the bottoms were lined up exactly and leaned them towards each other. And then I just soldered them together right there. Once that was done, I took the bezel and put it in there and soldered it between those two. I set it like this with a third hand, the bezel in between, so the bezel couldn't drop off and the bands wouldn't move. So, and that worked out fine. So all we're doing now is pickling, and then when we come back, I'll have it cleaned up and polished, and then we can set the stone and we'll be done. Okay, so we'll get everything polished up. Make sure we still got about the right amount of bezel. I may have to take a little bit more off. I'm going to take just a skosh more off. Okay, so what I did show you, but I wasn't filming, was when you have sharp corners like this on a stone or a bezel for a stone, it's going to try to wrinkle when you force those in over the corners because there's too much metal you're trying to push into there. So what I do is I thin out the top of the bezel just a tiny bit, and it seems to produce a pretty good result. You don't have a lot of excess bezel you're dealing with. Slipped a little bit there. I'm always a little scared to slip and break a stone when I'm doing this, but it doesn't happen very often. So once I get it not moving around so much by the corners, then I start forcing the sides down too. An emerald cut like this is actually 8-sided. It's got it's just got 4 small sides in the corners, basically, and then 4 long sides. So I'm going to do just a little bit of burnishing on the top here. Push it down. Okay, I'll do a little bit more cleaning up with the Dremel, and then we'll get some better pictures. So. That was a triangular shank ring with a single stone in a prong setting. If you enjoyed that, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. And I'd spent some time looking through my channel. If you go to my playlist page, you'll see I've got things divided into a whole bunch of different playlists. And there's, last I checked, 253 videos I've done in the past couple of years. So there's a lot of content there, and hopefully some of it is useful to you. So subscribe to my channel if you like that kind of stuff, and you can utilize those playlists pretty easily. The other thing that you might want to do is, if you want to become a supporter of the channel, check out the video description down below. There's a number of ways to help out. One is you can buy me a coffee, which is just a way to give me kind of a tip that I can use for raw materials and stuff. Another one is my Patreon link, if you want to see what a more interactive sort of experience is for my channel. Another one is my Patreon link, where you can sign up for exclusive content, or if you just want to do the lowest level, you can get rid of all the YouTube ads. There's also a link to my website where you can purchase jewelry, and there's lots of great stuff there for the holiday season, so check it out. Get yourself something nice, or get some of your relatives something nice. And finally, there's a merch store if you just absolutely have to have something that's Chad branded. Check out all those links and come back again. Thanks for watching. Happy silversmithing. Take care.